Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today let's review Doctor Who Season 17. The most Williams-era season that feels like a Williams-era season. And I think a lot of this is down to Douglas Adams being the script editor. And I think whether or not you like Season 17 is going to depend on whether or not you like Douglas Adams' style of humor, because Douglas Adams is a very unique individual, and I personally love his sense of humor. I love the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy books, especially the first four. Not a big fan of Mostly Harmless, but those first four are really, really good. And I like the little tweaks and things he does in the season, especially in the two stories he helped pen with City of Death and, of course, Shada. And we will be talking about Shada in this season as well, because I do consider it part of Season 17 now that we have a finished version of it. But you can kind of see his humor and style bleeding over into the other stories as well, as, again, he was the script editor, so he would make tweaks with stuff. I think most infamously with Destiny of the Daleks. Now, I enjoy that brand of humor. I think it flows through the season well. Again, especially in the stories he wrote or co-wrote, I tend to love that. That's one of my kinds of humor. I can see it's not everybody's bag. I love Tom Baker in this season. I always love Tom Baker. Tom Baker is my favorite Doctor. He just is the definitive Doctor for me. When I think of the Doctor, the first mental image I get is typically the fourth Doctor. I just love Tom in the role. And across all of his seasons, how he is in the Hinchcliffe era, how he is in the Williams era, and how he is in Season 18. He's so just full of energy this season, full of life, having the time of his life, out exploring, having a good time. Tom is putting so much into this role. It's so interesting to me that Season 17 and Season 18 are consecutive seasons, because they're so drastically different. I don't know if I've ever seen two seasons of Doctor Who, two consecutive seasons, that are just so drastically different in tone and feel as Seasons 17 and 18 are. And it's not to say that one is better than the other, but simply that they're very different. I love Tom in both, even though he's putting in very different performances. And I don't mean quality-wise. I love both. I love his performance in Season 17. I love his performance in Season 18. But he's putting in very different types of performances in them. They're very different. But he's so full of energy here and just bursting at the seams with it and just acting like he is having the time of his life. And I am all for it. I love seeing an energetic, happy fourth Doctor. I love the way he reacts to things. One of the things I love most about the fourth Doctor, and of course that is apparent here, as it is all of Tom's seasons, is that he never seems afraid. The fourth Doctor never seems fazed or scared or worried or even anxious about stuff going on. Like, we can tell when he's worried, but he doesn't let it stop him in his tracks. Like, he never gets, he never hesitates with that kind of stuff. Like, say, some other doctors would. Like, I can think of another doctor right off the top of my head. I won't say who, but I can think of another doctor off the top of my head. She hesitates too much. She's always on the back foot. Again, I don't want to name any names, but she's always on the back foot. She always seems so unsure of herself at times. Not always, but at times. Whereas Tom is never like that. Sure, he has times where he's having to work it out, and he's concerned, and he knows how great the danger is in like something like Seeds of Doom and Pyramids of Mars from Season 13, but he never feels at a loss. He never feels afraid. I never see that fear in him. Even if he is afraid, he's not letting it show. He's controlling it and doing what he's got to do. And I like that. Tom is so good at that, because I feel like Tom Baker, better than any other actor who has ever played the Doctor, and quite possibly any other person, period, understands one important fact that I feel like gets lost on people. And that is that the Doctor is an alien. He's not human. He looks human, or we look Time Lord, but he is an alien. And so he's not going to respond to a situation the way a human would necessarily. He might respond differently. So he doesn't freeze up or get that fear in his eyes like some people, like a person would, like a human might, because he isn't human. He reacts differently to things. I love how he never feels afraid or even worried. You look at how he handles the situation in like City of Death when he's being interrogated by the Countess. He seems so laid back and at ease, knowing he's in danger. There are so many times where the Fourth Doctor is in a situation where his life is on the line, but he takes it in stride. He has this very laid back attitude about it whenever he's held at gunpoint. He says, "Have you met Miss Smith? She's my best friend." And that happens in so many different stories. "Oh, I'm not too mad about your tailor." And I love that about Tom. I love that that is just consistently how the Fourth Doctor is. He truly is that kind of childhood hero someone could grow up with that just comes across as fearless while he's working through what he needs to do. I love that. Well, it's not very realistic in a 2020 world. He's not human. It might be very realistic for a Time Lord to react like that, especially considering the Doctor is not a typical Time Lord, as we well know, especially this incarnation of him. He's a bit eccentric. So I love that. I absolutely love that. I love the fact that he is confident all throughout this season. I like having Lalla Ward as Romana. I do prefer Romana 1, but I like Romana 2. I feel like Lalla really fits the role well. She grows into the role well. I enjoy her performance. She has a very good commanding performance at times in Creature from the Pit, when even she's admitted she was kind of acting more like Mary there. She wasn't quite sure what to do with the role yet. And I like how she has some good authority behind her in The Horns of Nimon as well. When she speaks, you listen. She has a good authoritative voice she uses there. Sometimes I think Lalla Ward's the only one taking the Horns of Nimon seriously. But I like it. I like how well she's doing that. And she doesn't quite get... She's kind of got more of the damsel in distress stuff going on in Day of the Daleks, to be fair. But I like what she's doing in Shada, even though, again, she's kind of kidnapped for part of it. And I like what she's doing in City of Death. I do like having Romana here, and I just like having a Time Lord as a Time Lady as a companion for the Doctor. I would love to have that happen again, too. And then we have stories that really run the gauntlet in variety, especially quality-wise, if I'm trying to talk about objective quality-wise. Now, a lot of us know that Graham Williams and Douglas Adams kind of went with the tentpole approach, that they were going to allocate the budget really to focus on 2 tentpole stories, and because of that, the rest of the stories would have suffered a bit. And of course, the tentpole stories were going to be City of Death and Shada. And to be fair, City of Death looks gorgeous, being shot in Paris. The budget effects for me look really good. City of Death looks like a really good story. You can tell budget went into it. And the filmed part of Shada looks good. The location work, I think the studio work we got looks good. You can tell, again, they put budget into it. Those stories look very good. Unfortunately, because of that, the rest of the season suffered. And the other, 4 stories suffer a bit. Destiny of the Daleks. The Daleks do, or yes, Destiny of the Daleks. I said Day of the Daleks earlier. Destiny of the Daleks does suffer. Does suffer a bit. The Daleks themselves look a bit knackered. The mask doesn't fit David Goodinson very well. The fact he doesn't have the voice modulation going on does hurt it a bit. The Movellan outfits, which I am there for. Love those outfits. But they are a bit... I love them, but they are a bit... And then, of course, Creature from the Pit has its own budget problems. Horns of Nimon. Horns of Nimon has a lot going on there that I think people could objectively call problems. But the budget's definitely one of them. The budget's definitely not there for Horns of Nimon. And even Nightmare of Eden, again, the budget. I feel like those other stories, you have to, for the non-budgeted stories, you have to go into them kind of knowing what you're getting. I like Destiny of the Daleks. It's a great comfort watch. It's not like Genesis. It's not top shelf. But it's a fun watch. I enjoyed the story. Tom's performance. Pretty much a running theme throughout the season for all the stories for me is Tom's performance. Helps sell the stories. The good stories and the objectively not as good stories. Because I like every story this season to one degree or another. But I can admit that objectively some of them aren't great. But Tom's performance helps all of them. Tom's performance, much like Peter Capaldi, Tom's performance helps elevate every story this season. He's just really, really good in what he's doing here. I tend to like the witty dialogue in some stuff. I feel like Douglas Adams was a very intelligent man. So I love some of the stuff he puts in here. Like, I always feel like the paper, rock, scissors thing feels more like Douglas Adams than Terry Nation to me. And I love the paper, rock, scissors thing. And I love the way Tom delivers that line. Scissors beats paper. The way he does that at the end, I love that. I also enjoy the scene when he tells the Daleks to spack off. Anyone else ever notice that? Now spack off! It's like he's about to say stand back. And like right as he starts to say it, he changes his mind and says back off. So instead of stand back or back off, you get spack off. If you've never noticed that, you will every time you watch Destiny of the Daleks now, and you're welcome. Now, luckily, Destiny has had some upgrades. I do like the updated effects for it. I don't think all of them were necessary, like the ship landing and rising doesn't really need the stuff coming off. I do like the updated effect of the Movellan weapons firing, because it always bothers me when people are shooting things and they don't do anything but make a sound. It just bugs me. We know Prowley likes his laser blast. So I like the fact that Movellans actually shoot beams now. And also, the Blu-ray adds the voice modulation for Davros. I like that. Those two fixes really, I think, help carry the story a little bit, aside from the performances. And I like the story itself. I think it's a fun story. I like some of the actors playing the Movellans, especially the kind of lead one. He's really good in that. So I like Destiny of the Daleks. It's a fun... it's a fun, objectively middle-of-the-road story that I get a subjective amount of enjoyment from. And it's very rewatchable for me. Then we have City of Death, which is just hands down one of the top 10 greatest top 20, top 10 greatest Doctor Who stories of all time. It is the shining jewel of the Williams era. City of Death is just phenomenal. Julian Glover is putting in such a good performance in the role. He is just absolutely nailing this character. Again, Tom Baker is just fantastic. I love the bits of humor in this, like, stop! I can't stand being tortured by someone with cold hands. I love that kind of humor. What a wonderful butler. He's so violent. The scene when the Countess is interrogating them is literally my favorite scene in all of Doctor Who. Why was he following me? Well, you're a beautiful woman, probably. That could be my favorite line in all of Doctor Who. The way Tom says it, well, you're a beautiful woman, probably. I love that. Who sent you, Doctor? Who sent me what? I love every bit of that. And Romana being able to open the box, even though the lady's like, you'll never figure it out. She's like, click, got it. Oh, me? Well, that's because, why are you so interested in my bracelet? Me? Well, that's because I'm a thief. Romana here is my assistant, and Duggan here is the cop who's captured us. And the way he says it in that pleased way, like he's proud of Duggan. Duggan, you have to stop trying to punch people I'm trying to talk to. I love that. The plan with the Mona Lisas is bonkers to me. Like the 7 Mona Lisas is bonkers to me. But I absolutely love it. And I do love the fact that the one punch ends up being what saves the day. Like, it's not some well-thought-out plot. Duggan just punches the guy. I love it. It's just such a fun story. Plus, the location work at Paris does look fantastic. Oh, I wish those film elements survived. I so wish they did. It looks gorgeous. I wonder if someone has those somewhere in a private collection, because it looks gorgeous. Moving up next, I would say, of course, Creature from the Pit. Now, I've talked about Creature from the Pit a lot, so I'm not going to delve into detail on it. Most of you know my thoughts on it. It has a really solid first 3 episodes, an amazing first 7 minutes of the 4th episode, and then the 4th episode just kind of gets dull, falls apart. Maybe it isn't quite the right term. It just gets uninteresting. It becomes very uninteresting. Basically, once the lady Andrasta dies. Did I get her name right that time? I don't know. Myra's doing such a good job with her. I like the casting in this. Myra is fantastic as the lady Andrasta. I love her performance and the little nuances and this little twitch she does with her eyebrow sometime I really like. We call it The Pit. I love her. Tom puts in some good performances here. I absolutely love that. Lala Ward, I like what she's doing with Romana. I know this was kind of the first story they filmed, so she's kind of being Mary here, but I like it. That scene in episode 1, when she stalls for time for K9 to get there, it's a great performance. I really enjoy it. Tom, I love some of those comedic moments he gets in episode 1 when he's like, Romana, have you seen Romana? Have you seen Romana? I enjoy a lot of what he's doing. Well, there's no need to shout. I love that. I love the set design. The set design in this story is really good. The cave set looks good, and the jungle set, which is very obviously shot on film, probably done at Ealing, I'm assuming, looks really good. I love when classic Doctor Who does a good jungle set, and it does here for this one. K9 gets a little bit to do as well. I also like the guy who controls the weed things. He doesn't get a lot to do, but he's nice there. The actor playing him does a good job with what little bit he has. The guy playing the kind of old wise man-like character in the caves, I like him most of the time. Every now and then he hams it up a little bit, especially right there at the end when he has the fingers crossed. It's a little over the top for me, but most of the time he's solid. Yes, the design of the creature, Ergo or whatever his name is a little unfortunate in some shots. Not most. It's not as bad as people make it out to be, or people seem to remember it being. There are a few egregious shots where it looks unfortunate, especially when Tom is trying to communicate with it. But most of the shots of the creature are fine, you know, not the best classic Who fare, obviously, but they're fine. Willing suspension of disbelief, fine. And again, the first 7 minutes of episode 4, I think, is one of Tom Baker's best scenes, when he's basically turning everyone else against the Lady Andrasta. I love his dialogue there. The speech he gives is phenomenal. Easily one of Tom Baker's best scenes in the role. After that, it just kind of gets dull and uninteresting with them having to stop the rocket heading toward the planet. And I kind of zone out. The effects there, it needs some updated effects. That story really needs some updated effects in episode 4. I mean, you could do the whole story, of course, but episode 4 needs some updated effects. The effects are just a bit daft there. But I enjoyed the story up to that last part, where it just kind of gets... Nightmare of Eden, I like. It's a bit forgettable, honestly. And again, it's another story that very much benefits from the updated effects, especially with the ship models. The effects definitely aren't there for it. I do like some of the original laser blasts, how they alternated between green and blue. I thought that was creative. The updated laser effects are all right, but I hate that they just went with one solid color, that kind of boring teal color. And teal is such a boring color. They went with that kind of teal color, which I really wish they'd made a better color choice. I much prefer, I think it's Cunning Monkey has done his own updated effects, and his updated effects for the laser blast kind of stay true to the original effects, but making them look better. And that's a much better job than what we actually got on the box set for those. I do like the updated ship effects, though. The updated ship effects are really good. And some of the other effects, like the little bug that stings Romana, looks much better. It's really just the laser effects I wish had been done a little different, while still being fine. The guy with the German accent's a little over the top. It is a little comedic. It is a little hard to take that seriously. I feel like all the other performers are doing a pretty good job, like the kind of captain of the ship who gets drugged at one point. That actor's doing a good job with the role. I love that conversation between him and the doctor when he tries to claim he's with, like, Space Patrol or something. And the guy's like, don't lie to me. They've been out of business for 20 years. And Tom's just like, I wondered why I haven't gotten paid. That's the reason why Tom Baker is my first Doctor. Just the way he does that line. I wonder why I haven't. I love Tom Baker so much. He's my Doctor. I enjoy that. I feel like the monsters are fine. Maybe you didn't quite need them so overlit. I think if you'd kept them more in the shadows or had the sets a little darker, that would have worked better. Like if this story had been filmed in season 13, it would look very different, I think. The actual monster costumes, I think, are fine. They don't really bother me. But I do think the overuse of the monsters and the well-lit rooms is a little gratuitous, kind of taking the fear factor away from them. And it has a good ending. I like how the Doctor uses their own machine to trap them and bring them back. I think that's clever. Nightmare on Eden is not one that I am usually like, ooh, I need to go rewatch that. But when I do watch it, I find it enjoyable enough. Then we have Horns of Nimon. Again, not going to go on about it a lot. You guys know I really enjoy Horns of Nimon. It's objectively rubbish. It is. It's rubbish. Again, no budget put into this one. You could just tell the sets are just... You start to want... If you didn't see Tom Baker, you'd think it was a fan production. I mean... I like the fact that Lala Ward's the only one that seems to be taking it seriously. And, oh, what's his name? Graham Chowder or whatever his name is, the guy playing Soul Deed. I love Soul Deed. This story wouldn't be nearly as much fun without Soul Deed. He is just a staple. There's a reason why I use, you know, a snapshot of him whenever I have bloopers at the end of a video. It's just perfect. My dreams of conquest. Was it Space Hussy or whatever it is he says there? I absolutely love that. Do not blaspheme the Nimon. I love Soul Deed. He just makes this story. I mean, the Nimon outfits are awful. The Nimon outfits are so terrible. It's obviously a person in a little, like, nylon. The Nimon and nylon. The nylon Nimon. I don't even know if that's really nylon. I just think of nylon. But they're laughably, it's laughably just someone in an outfit. It's like they didn't even try. Yeah, just put this on and put that on. Yeah, good enough. We're saving some money from shoutout. That possibly can't miss. But it's like all of these elements, all of these terrible, terrible elements come together in this kind of way to create this Voltron of just pantomime camp. That if you go into Horns of Nimon with the right frame of mind, it's so much fun. It is a comfort story to me when I'm just in the mood to laugh. And I enjoy it. And then we have Shada. And I like Shada. I do count Shada as complete now with the animated version of it, or the half-animated version of it. And it's on the Season 17 box set, so I do think of it as Season 17's finale proper. I like Shada. Again, I like a lot of the humor in Shada, a lot of the wit, but a lot of the ideas, like the invisible ship. Hey, that's one way to... Whoop! I bumped the camera. That's one way to save on budget right there. That is one way to save on budget right there. The invisible ship with the walkway. The effects look nice. I know the model work was done, you know, like in 2017, but the model work looks very retro while also looking very good. The actor playing Skagra, I like him. I mean, I've seen him in other stuff. Just in general, he's really good at playing that villain type. I like him. He's really, really good in it. He has a really kind of crazed look. Not a hitchhiker you'd pick up on the road if you saw him. I like a lot of Tom's witty, did you see that Jinx made them think I was trying to get to the TARDIS? What were you trying to do? Get to the TARDIS. And I love the fact that they got Tom Baker back to do the voice work and for that wonderful scene at the end. I love that scene at the end. That's just... I wish it was a little longer, but I adore that ending scene for the story. It's just to see Tom Baker with the outfit on. I love the guy playing Professor Chronosis. David, I think is his name. He looks so much like Patrick Troughton, like an older Patrick Troughton. I absolutely love him. Of course, he also plays the Keeper in Legopolis. It's like, I just love the professor with his tea. Anytime I see him in Legopolis now, I'm like, why is he not offering me some tea? He just plays that role really well. I really like the guest cast in Shada a lot. You have Chris Parsons or whatever his name is. He's good. The girl that's, you know, kind of his friend's sort-ish romantic interest. She's good. Even the guy with the glasses and the hat who just kind of, the courtesy officer, I don't know quite what his role is. I like him. We don't get a lot of time with him, but I like him. The fact he can remember all the doctor's visits. Well, I was also here in 1957, but I was in a different body. Because back then, regeneration was very much a different body, the way it should be. It's just such a good story. The animation is really good. It actually, what really gets me is how well the animation works with the live action footage, because you figured the transition back and forth throughout the story would be jarring, but it's really not. It's actually done really well. That initial transition is done so well, it just kind of sets the mood for it, that it never feels bothersome in the story, which I really liked. The location work looks gorgeous because, of course, the film elements were retained. Let's thank J&T for that. He did retain the film elements for the location work, so that all looks absolutely gorgeous. And then the studio work we got is really good. I enjoy a lot of the humor. Again, the special effects they shot look really good. Like with the two TARDISes are connected by the green bridge, and Tom, well, the Doctor, I'm sure it's not Tom, obviously, going across them. It's really well done. It fits with that classic era special effects really well. And I just find Shoutout a lot of fun. It's definitely a season that's kind of, you got a nice hodgepodge of stories. We got another Dalek story, and I always feel like Destiny of the Daleks, is remembered more. It is kind of a middle of the... I like Destiny of the Daleks, personally, subjectively. I get enjoyment out of it. Objectively, I find it a very middle-of-the-road story. Like, I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's good. It's like slap dab in the middle. But I feel like one of the reasons it's important is because we only got 2 Tom Baker Dalek stories. Because they just didn't overuse them as much during that era. So of all of Tom's 7 seasons, he only fought the Daleks twice. And Genesis, of course, is Genesis. But sometimes you want a Tom Baker Dalek story that's not Genesis, because Genesis is just Genesis. And so the only other option you really have is Destiny, without delving into audio. I'm sure there's a lot of Fourth Doctor Dalek stories in Big Finish and stuff. Like, I think there's one called Energy of the Daleks, I think. I've never listened to it. Don't know if it's good. But then you have Destiny, which is fun. It's enjoyable. It's 4 parts. It gets the job done. Then you have City of Death, which, of course, is phenomenally good. One of the best Doctor Who episodes ever made. Top 10, top 20, I think, in a lot of people's list. Creature from the Pit is really good if you can get past the budget problems. Nightmare of Eden, well, at least aside from episode 4. Nightmare of Eden, I think your mileage is going to vary. Horns of Nimon... If you go into Horns of Nimon expecting Genesis of the Daleks, you're going to leave very disappointed. But if you take Horns of Nimon just for what it is, I think you can enjoy it and just have fun with it. And then, of course, Shada is fantastic. It's a shame it wasn't originally finished when it should have been, but I think the completed version we have is really good. I also very much like the incidental music for Shada. I think Mark does really good with that incidental music. Feels very of the era, kind of like something Dudley Simpson might have done. So I enjoyed that as well. It's a fun season. Again, I feel like your thoughts on season 17 are going to very much depend on if you like Douglas Adams or not. If you like Douglas Adams' style of humor. Because his fingerprints are all over this season. Having written one story completely and co-written another story completely, and of course being the script editor for the season, his fingerprints are all over this season. It is the Douglas Adams season, is what it feels like. So your enjoyment of the story is going to come down to how much you just like or dislike Douglas Adams, I feel. And if you can enjoy Tom Baker when he's a little more over the top. Because Tom, it's interesting how... the Hinchcliffe era Tom is very balanced, whereas, of course, in the Williams era, he gets a little more comedic, which I like. I love Tom. I love every version of the Fourth Doctor. And then season 18 is interesting because it's such a drastic change to that more somber, lethargic, if that's the word I'm looking for, just more mellowed. Like, you feel like he just seems like someone who's older, like he's aged. Aside from the fact Tom just looks like he's visibly aged. I know he was very ill for part of that season. They were even having to perm his hair, I believe, because it had gone straight. Probably stressing out over Lalla Ward. I think he loved Lalla Ward so much that when they weren't on good terms, I think it just seriously stressed him and made him ill. And the Fourth Doctor is just so different in season 18. So I love that he's still got that full of life energy he has in season 17, where he's just on top of the world. Because, again, I think Tom and Lalla were doing really well in that season, so he probably was on top of the world. It's a fun season with some great location work at Cambridge and Paris. So season 17, the final season of the Williams era. What do you think of it? Comment down below and let's talk about it. Don't forget to click the like button and the subscribe button as well. I also have a Patreon if you would like to support me on that. There's a link to that down in the description below. I want to give a shout out to Sam Venning and Colin Coney, two of my top tier patrons. I appreciate their support, as I do the support of all of my patrons and YouTube members. It's very much appreciated. I also have a P.O. box if there's anything you'd like to send me to look at and review. A link to my Amazon wishlist is down there. A link to my Amazon UK wishlist is also down there. And most importantly, thank you for watching.